Welcome to Cozy Sleep Time. Get comfortable and take a slow breath. Let your body relax more and more. Tonight's story is about the clouds. Simply listen or let your mind drift. There is no need to focus. Let the quiet story begin. High above the world, there is a realm that is always changing. The sky is never quite the same from one moment to the next. Clouds drift across it in slow motion, forming and dissolving, catching light and casting shadows. It is a gentle world, one that moves at its own quiet pace, far above the busyness of the earth below. Clouds are made of tiny water droplets or ice crystals so small that they float on the air. A single cloud can contain billions of these droplets, each one so light that it drifts effortlessly. When sunlight passes through a cloud, the droplets scatter the light in all directions. This is why clouds appear white during the day. They reflect all the colors of sunlight equally. When clouds grow thick and dense, they block more light, and their undersides appear gray. The formation of a cloud begins when warm, moist air rises. As the air climbs higher, it expands and cools. Cool air cannot hold as much moisture as warm air. Eventually, the air reaches a temperature where the water vapor within it begins to condense into tiny droplets. This is called the dew point. When enough droplets form, they become visible as a cloud. This process happens all around us, all the time. Every cloud that drifts across the sky was formed by rising air. Sometimes the air rises because the sun heats the ground, which warms the air above it. Sometimes it rises because wind is forced up over a mountain. Sometimes large weather systems push air upward over a broad area. But in every case, the principle is the same. Warm air rises, cools, and condenses into the soft shapes we see above us. Clouds have been drifting across the skies of Earth for billions of years. Long before there were eyes to watch them, they are one of the most constant features of our planet, as much a part of the Earth as the oceans and the mountains. And yet, each cloud is temporary. It forms, drifts, changes, and eventually disappears. A single cloud might exist for only a few minutes or a few hours before its droplets evaporate back into invisible vapor. There is something calming about watching clouds move across the sky. The gentle pace of their motion, the softness of their shapes, the way they catch the changing light of the day. Watching clouds requires nothing from us. We do not need to understand them to appreciate them. We simply need to look up and let our gaze rest on their slow passage. Clouds connect the earth and the sky. They are born from water that evaporated from oceans, lakes, and forests. They carry this water across continents, releasing it as rain and snow. They shield us from the heat of the sun and trap warmth near the ground at night. They are an essential part of the delicate system that makes life on Earth possible. Looking at the sky and watching clouds drift by is one of the simplest forms of rest. It slows the mind. It softens the edges of the day. It reminds us that there is a larger world above us, moving at its own peaceful pace, indifferent to the hurry of human life. The formation of a cloud is one of the most common yet remarkable processes in nature. It happens constantly, all around the world, and yet each cloud forms under slightly different conditions, which is why no two clouds look exactly alike. To understand how clouds form, we must first understand water vapor. Water vapor is water in its gaseous state. It is invisible, but it is always present in the air around us. The amount of water vapor the air can hold depends on temperature. Warm air can hold more water vapor than cool air. This is why humid summer days feel heavy and moist, while cold winter air feels dry. When a parcel of warm, moist air rises, it enters regions of lower atmospheric pressure. As the pressure decreases, the air expands, and as it expands, it cools. This is called adiabatic cooling. As the air cools, its ability to hold water vapor decreases. Eventually, the air reaches a point called saturation, where it cannot hold any more water vapor. When this happens, the excess water vapor begins to condense onto tiny particles in the air, such as dust, pollen, or sea salt. These tiny particles are called condensation nuclei. Without them, clouds could not form at all. Water vapor needs a surface to condense onto, and these microscopic particles provide that surface. Each tiny droplet in a cloud formed around a particle so small that it is invisible to the naked eye. When billions of these droplets form at once, they become visible as a cloud. The altitude at which condensation begins is called the lifting condensation level. Below this level, the air is clear. Above it, a cloud forms. If you have ever watched a mountain on a humid day, you may have noticed clouds forming around the peak while the valley below remained clear. This is because the air was forced up the mountainside, cooled, and reached its condensation level at the altitude of the peak. Clouds can also form when two different air masses meet. When warm, moist air meets cooler air, the warm air is forced upward over the denser cool air. As it rises and cools, broad layers of clouds can form, covering hundreds of thousands of square kilometers. These are the kind of clouds that bring steady, gentle rain over large areas. The droplets in a cloud are incredibly small. A typical cloud droplet is about 20 microns in diameter, roughly 1/5 the thickness of a human hair. They are so light that even the slightest updraft can keep them suspended in the air. A cloud droplet falls through the air at a rate of only about 1 centimeter per second. At that speed, it would take more than a day for a droplet to fall 1 kilometer. For a droplet to grow large enough to fall as rain, it must increase in size by a factor of about 1 million. This happens when droplets collide and merge with one another, or when ice crystals form and grow at the expense of surrounding droplets. Eventually, the droplets become heavy enough that they fall as rain, and then the cycle begins again as the rain returns water to the earth, where it will eventually evaporate and rise again to form new clouds. Not all clouds are the same. They come in many shapes and sizes, each type forming under specific conditions. Learning to recognize the different types of clouds adds a quiet enjoyment to watching the sky. The most common classification system for clouds was developed in 1802 by an English pharmacist and amateur meteorologist named Luke Howard. He named the clouds using Latin words. The three main types are cirrus, which means curl of hair, stratus, which means layer, and cumulus, which means heap or pile. These three basic types combine to describe all the clouds we see. Cirrus clouds are the highest clouds in the sky. They form at altitudes above 6,000 meters, where temperatures are well below freezing. At these heights, cirrus clouds are made entirely of ice crystals. They appear as thin, wispy strands, like delicate brushstrokes across the sky. Because they are made of ice, they catch the light in a way that water droplets do not. During sunrise and sunset, cirrus clouds often glow with brilliant shades of pink, orange, and gold. Stratus clouds form in layers. They are the clouds that often cover the entire sky in a uniform gray blanket. Stratus clouds form when a large mass of moist air rises slowly over a broad area. They are associated with steady, gentle rain or drizzle. On days when the sky is completely overcast and the light is soft and even, stratus clouds are usually the reason. The world beneath stratus clouds feels quieter, as if the sky has wrapped itself around the earth. Cumulus clouds are the fluffy, white clouds that drift across the sky on sunny days. They form when pockets of warm air rise through cooler surrounding air, like bubbles rising in water. These are called thermals. As each thermal rises and cools, the water vapor within it condenses into a distinct cloud with a flat base and a rounded top. Cumulus clouds are often called fair weather clouds because they typically form on warm, sunny days. When cumulus clouds grow very tall, they can develop into cumulonimbus clouds, which are the clouds associated with thunderstorms. These clouds can reach altitudes of over 15 kilometers, towering higher than Mount Everest. The tops of these clouds spread out into the characteristic anvil shape that signals severe weather. Despite their power, even these massive clouds follow the same basic principles of warm air rising and cooling. There are also hybrid cloud types. Cirrocumulus clouds form when high-altitude moisture creates patterns of small white patches high in the sky, sometimes called a mackerel sky. Altostratus clouds form at middle altitudes and often signal that rain is on the way. Stratocumulus clouds are low, lumpy clouds that cover the sky in rolling patterns, creating a textured ceiling that filters the sunlight into soft, diffuse light. Clouds also reveal information about the movement of the atmosphere. By watching how clouds form and move, meteorologists can predict weather patterns days in advance. The direction clouds move tells us which way the wind is blowing at different altitudes. The way clouds change over time tells us whether a weather system is approaching or departing. There is a quiet satisfaction in being able to look at the sky and recognize the different types of clouds. It transforms the sky from a simple backdrop into a living, changing story. Each cloud tells us something about the air above us, the temperature, the humidity, and the movement of the atmosphere. The sky is always speaking, and clouds are its language. Clouds are not just beautiful to look at. They serve essential functions for the planet and for every living thing on it. Without clouds, Earth would be a very different and much less hospitable place. One of the most important roles clouds play is regulating the Earth's temperature. Clouds reflect sunlight back into space, which helps keep the planet cool. Depending on their type, altitude, and thickness, clouds can reflect between 20 and 60% of the incoming solar radiation. This is called the albedo effect. Low, thick clouds like stratus are very good at reflecting sunlight. High, thin clouds like cirrus allow more sunlight to pass through but can trap heat that rises from the Earth's surface. Clouds also trap heat. Water vapor and clouds are the most important greenhouse substances in the atmosphere. They absorb the infrared radiation that the Earth emits and re-radiate some of it back toward the ground. This is called the greenhouse effect, and without it, the average temperature on Earth would be about minus 18 degrees Celsius, far too cold for most forms of life. The balance between cooling and warming depends on the type of cloud and its altitude. Low clouds tend to cool the planet because they are thick enough to block sunlight. High clouds tend to warm the planet because they are thin enough to let sunlight through, but thick enough to trap outgoing heat. This balance is one of the most important factors in the Earth's climate system. Clouds are also essential for the water cycle. They transport water from one part of the world to another. Water evaporates from the oceans, condenses into clouds, and is carried by winds across continents. When the clouds release their moisture as rain or snow, that water nourishes the land. This is how inland regions receive water, even though they are far from any ocean. Clouds are the delivery system for fresh water across the entire planet. Without clouds, there would be no rain. Without rain, there would be no rivers, no lakes, no groundwater. The land would be desert. The forests would not exist. agriculture would be impossible. Clouds make life on land possible by moving water from the oceans to every corner of the continents. Clouds also affect the quality of light. On a cloudy day, the sunlight is diffused by the cloud layer. It comes from all directions rather than from a single point. This softens shadows and creates the gentle, even lighting that photographers love. There is a reason why cloudy days are often described as cozy. The soft light creates a calm, restful atmosphere that the sharp contrast of direct sunlight does not. Clouds at sunset are some of the most beautiful natural phenomena we can witness. As the sun sinks toward the horizon, its light passes through more of the atmosphere. The shorter blue wavelengths are scattered away, and the longer red and orange wavelengths reach our eyes. When clouds are present, they catch these warm colors and glow with them. A sky filled with clouds at sunset becomes a canvas of shifting color, each cloud catching a slightly different shade as the light changes. There is a word for the peaceful feeling that comes from watching clouds. In Japanese, the word is unkai, which describes a sea of clouds viewed from above. In English, we do not have a single word for it, but the feeling is universal. It is the quiet awe that comes from witnessing the gentle grandeur of the sky, and it connects us to something larger than ourselves. Clouds have always captured the human imagination. Long before science explained how clouds form, people looked up at the sky and saw meaning in the drifting shapes. Clouds appear in the art, literature, and mythology of cultures around the world. In many ancient cultures, clouds were seen as bridges between the earthly world and the divine. The Greek gods were said to live above the clouds on Mount Olympus. In Norse mythology, the rainbow Bifrost connected the world of humans to the realm of the gods, arching through the clouds. In Hindu tradition, clouds were associated with Indra, the god of rain and thunderstorms. Clouds were messengers, carriers of rain, symbols of the mysterious forces that controlled the weather and the fertility of the land. Clouds also inspired some of the earliest forms of weather prediction. Before modern meteorology, farmers and sailors learned to read the sky. Cirrus clouds high in the sky often meant that a change in weather was coming within the next day or two. A sky filled with layered stratus clouds meant steady rain. Fluffy cumulus clouds on a summer morning meant fair weather, but if they grew tall and dark by afternoon, thunderstorms could follow. These observations were passed down through generations as folk wisdom. In art, clouds have been a favorite subject for centuries. The painters of the Renaissance studied clouds carefully, learning to capture their forms and the way light moves through them. The Dutch landscape painters of the 17th century made clouds a central feature of their work, filling more than half of many paintings with dramatic, shifting skies. The English painter John Constable was famous for his cloud studies, which he painted outdoors to capture their fleeting forms. In literature, clouds often symbolize transition, change, and the passage of time. Their constant motion and transformation make them a natural metaphor for the impermanence of all things. Poets have written about clouds as dreamers, wanderers, and messengers. The Romantic poets saw clouds as symbols of freedom and imagination, untethered from the earth and free to drift wherever the wind carried them. Cloud watching is a form of meditation that requires nothing but a comfortable place to lie down and an open sky. It is an activity that people of all ages can enjoy. There is no right or wrong way to watch clouds. You can simply let your gaze rest on them and allow your thoughts to drift as they do. Some people see shapes in the clouds, animals and faces and familiar objects. Others simply follow the movement of a single cloud as it drifts across the sky. There is science behind the calming effect of cloud watching. The slow, unpredictable movement of clouds engages the brain in a gentle way. It is not demanding enough to require focus, but it is interesting enough to hold the attention. This type of gentle engagement is similar to what happens during meditation. The mind settles into a state of relaxed awareness. Clouds remind us of the vastness of the world. The sky stretches above us, endless and open. The clouds moving through it follow paths determined by winds we cannot feel, at altitudes we cannot reach. They belong to a realm that is beyond our everyday experience, yet they are visible from anywhere on Earth. Looking up at clouds connects us to the entire planet, because the same sky stretches over every mountain, every ocean, every city. As the day passes and the light changes, so do the clouds. They shift and transform, never staying the same for long. And as night falls, the clouds become invisible, merging with the darkness, waiting for the morning light to reveal them again. The cycle continues, as it has for billions of years, above a world that sleeps beneath the gentle sky. As our story ends, let the quiet ideas settle softly. Your body can continue to relax, breathing slow and steady. If sleep is near, let it arrive naturally. Thank you for spending this moment here on Cozy Sleep Time. Return anytime for another peaceful journey. Good night.